Hello students, welcome back. Myself Pushpendra Singh and we are going to start with our daily current affairs. So today you have 22nd of March 2021 and these lectures are basically useful for those students who are preparing for the civil services examination which is conducted by the UPSC, okay, as well as other government competitive examination, because you require to answer the few questions related to your current affairs. So for that you can also study the national newspaper, any national newspaper, okay. The preferably you can use the Hindu or Indian Express. Both of these newspapers are equally good. You can refer any of these newspaper and you can supplement your preparation with the help of these lectures also. So these lectures are uploaded on the YouTube on the day-to-day basis. So you can subscribe our channel on the YouTube also to get the daily current affairs related lectures. All right, so let's begin with the lecture. Okay, so first news is basically coming related to the Great Nicobar Island. Okay, so as you know that Andaman and Nicobar Island, they are basically the island territories belonging to India. Okay, now the Niti Aayog basically has made a plan for the holistic and sustainable development of the Nicobar Island specifically, or Great Nicobar Island, which is basically the southernmost island of the Andaman and Nicobar group of islands. Okay, so the Niti Aayog basically have made a developmental plan for the phase one of this, the developmental plan for this Great Nicobar Island. So it will cover around 150 square kilometers of the land. Okay, that land basically belongs to the Great Nicobar group of island, which is a part of your Andaman and Nicobar group of island. So if you take this 150 square kilometer of the land which is being taken for the holistic development of this Great Nicobar Island, this 150 square kilometer correspond to 18% of the area of the island. Okay, so which is around 18% or 910 square kilometer of your Great Nicobar group of island. Okay, it will cover nearly a quarter of the coastline also, because certain developmental project which is going to be implemented, right, we will see in the next slide, right. So those developmental projects need the coastal areas. So for that, this developmental project also cover nearly 1/4 of the coastline also. Okay, the overall plan, if you say, okay, which will cover basically around 244 square kilometers of the area. Okay, so that will be utilized in this overall developmental plan. Okay, which is a major portion of the Princeton forest and the coastal ecosystem of the Great Nicobar group of islands. So which is also a cause of the concern, because now if you take the Princeton forest, okay, the coastal system, obviously there will be some negative effect on the forest as well as in the coastal ecosystem also, because both of these are going to be affected because of these developmental project. So that is environmental point of view, that is also not good. Okay, so regarding the phase one of this project, so phase one of this project will be executed. It will cover 22 square kilometers of the area. Okay, in that area airport complex will be constructed. Okay, then a transshipment port, okay, that will be constructed at the south way, right, which will cover the cost of around 12,000 crore rupees. Okay, and then parallel to the coastal area in the Great Nicobar Island, okay, you have the provision of the mass rapid transit system or mass rapid transportation system also. So parallel to the coastal area, right, the mass rapid transport system will also be developed. Okay, and then the free trade zone will be developed. The warehouse complex will be developed specifically on the southwestern coast of the Great Nicobar Island. So as you have seen here, there are various developmental projects which will include, right, the airport complex, the transshipment port. Okay, then parallel to the coastal area, you will have the mass rapid transportation system, free trade zone, warehouse complex. All sort of developmental projects will be developed so that the holistic and the sustainable development related to the Great Nicobar Group of Islands can be done. Okay. For these projects or for execution of these different projects, just now we have seen, right, in 2020, Andaman and Nicobar Island Integrated Development Corporation, which is also known as ANIDCO, was basically designed, right? It is a nodal agency for the purpose of execution of these projects. Okay. Then in January 2021, this year itself, the Standing Committee on the National Board for the Wildlife, which is the main committee to give sanction related to the projects, right? If the project is falling within the forest area or the coastal area. Okay, so this committee or the Standing Committee of National Board for the Wildlife have denotified already the entire Galathea Bay Wildlife Sanctuary, right, for the development of port over there. So it has already denotified it. Okay, and regarding the flora and the fauna which will be affected because of the developmental project over the Great Nicobar Island, the Nicobar megapod, which is an endangered bird, okay, which will be affected because of this developmental project. Then you have lot of tribal communities also which are minor also, right? So those tribal communities would be affected because of the developmental project, specifically the Shomfen community. This Shomfen community is residing in the Great Nicobar Group of Island. Okay, so they will be affected. So there is a threat to the Shomfen community. Okay, and the proposed project basically, are important foraging grounds where the Shomfen community used to visit for their hunter-gathering type of, occupations are there. Okay, so you can see here the Andaman and Nicobar Group of Islands is located in the Bay of Bengal region. Okay, so I'm talking about this red one. So it is shown here in big one. Okay, so here the developmental project will be implemented. Okay, then Zapi, Zorai, and Gamuso, right? What is this Zapi, Zorai, and Gamusa? They are basically, the local names, specifically in the state of Assam. Okay, they are traditional items. They are traditional items which are traditionally used by the people of Assam or by the natives of Assam, specifically in the Assam region. Okay, as you know that the Legislative Assembly election in the Assam is due. Okay, for that one, the Zapi, Zorai, and Gamosa is being frequently appeared in the Assam, right? As a matter of the tradition which will be used, right, by the people specifically in the Assam region. Okay, so we'll see what is Zapi, what is Zorai, and what is Gamosa. So what is Zapi? Zapi is conical hat. You might have seen the Prime Minister Narendra Modi wear that hat whenever he visit the Assam state during the election. So it is a conical hat. It is a big conical hat, right? This conical hat is made up of bamboo. Okay, and it is covered with the palm tree, leaves. So which is also known as the tokau, basically in the Assamese language. So the palm tree basically found in the upper Assam region, specifically in the rainforest regions. Okay, now this Zapi, right? This Zapi, which is nothing but a conical hat, is made up of by the artisans. Okay, these artisans are basically, is based in the cluster of the villages. That means a group of villages, specifically in the Narwari district. So this Zapi is basically, manufactured or made by the artisans, which is a group of villages, specifically in the Nalwari district of Assam. Okay. Next, Gamosa. What is Gamosa? Gamosa literally means a cloth. Simple traditional cloth. Okay. The cloth that you have seen, handkerchief, just like they have the cloth, but it is a traditional cloth which is having some local significance attached with that. So that gamosa may have different uses also. For example, one may use this gamosa for, for wiping the body. It may also use for widespread, purpose. For example, in the public functions, in the public ceremony, right? Specifically to facilitate dignitaries, celebrities, right? It used also as a towels, right? So different uses at the household table. Then you have zorai. So zorai is basically a bell metal. It is a bell-shaped metal. Okay. So zorai is made up of that bell-shaped metal. It is nothing but a tray. okay, a tray, but it is, it has the stand, just like it is on the some, the level up from the bottom. So it has the stand with tray, and with or without cover. So you would have seen that the cover, maybe you can lift up the cover and you can also, cover that tray with that cover. So that is something, a well metal, made up of, and it is basically, essentially a tray which can be also covered with the help of cover also. So it is basically zapi, which is a hat. Then gamusa, you can see here, it has the traditional use. It is basically covered, this dholak also. Then the woman also performing with this gamusa also. The men also wear this gamusa, okay. And this gamusa also, placed over this bell shaped, the tray, which is known as basically your zorai, okay. Then Ustad Bismillah Khan, okay. So the birth anniversary of the famous Senai maestro, which is known as Ustad Bismillah Khan, is basically observed on March 21st, 2021, okay. So he was world famous Senai maestro, okay. And the Ustad Bismillah Khan basically gave his contribution to the development of music, specifically in the Shehnai, okay. He has participated at the global level also, at the global stage, okay. His first, the Shehnai participation or Shehnai performance was held during the opening of All India Radio in Lucknow in 1938 itself, okay. And during our first Republic Day celebration, when we celebrated on 26th of January 1950, okay, on that time, the Ustad Bismillah Khan basically played a Sehnai also during our first Republic Day celebration, okay. And he was the first Indian to be invited to perform, the Lincoln Center Hall, which is a prestigious, for the purpose of, performance of this Shehnai in the United States of America, okay. And he has received the several awards. For example, he has received Padam Shri, Padam Bhushan, Padam Vibhushan, okay. And also in 2001 he was also awarded the India's highest civilian award, that was Bharat Ratna. So he has awarded almost all, the prestigious award conferred by the government of India, and he has given a great contribution in the field of music, okay. So he was the Ustad Bismillah Khan, okay. Next, the word sparrow day, okay. You know that word sparrow day, the sparrow you might have seen also during your childhood. Now the sparrow is not visible because now they are going to extinct, or they are verge of extinction. But the sparrows were very, very famous, specifically in the rural areas, okay. In the urban areas they are not visible because they don't have, the proper environment to sustain, and now they are going to eliminate, right, specifically in the urban areas. To observe or to raise the awareness related to the word sparrow day is basically observed on the March 20 every year, okay. So every year March 20 is observed as a word sparrow day. Ultimate aim is to raise the awareness about the word, okay. As you have seen that the sparrow population have decreased, right. It has almost at the verge of extinction if not protected properly, okay. To protect the species of the sparrow, right, the Muhammad Dilawar, he was the person who have basically started the Nature Forever Society, right, which is an NGO, right, for the conservation of the, sparrow. So the Muhammad Dilawar was basically Indian conservationist, okay. He started the work to basically helping the house sparrow, specifically in the Nasik district of Maharashtra, okay. And the Muhammad Dilawar was also named one of the heroes of the environment for 2008 by the Times magazine for his effort to conserve the species of the sparrow, right. So the third World Sparrow Day, which was celebrated in 2010 in the different parts of the world, since then the World Sparrow Day is celebrated every year, right, on March 20, basically to protect the species of the sparrow, specifically in the urban and rural areas. Okay, so if you have seen this work, very beautiful, specifically in your childhood, you might have seen also. Okay, next, the National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and the Development Bill 2021. Okay, so this bill is going to introduce in the Lok Sabha. So the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman would introduce this bill, which is known as National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development Bill. Okay, the bill is seeking to establish the National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and the Development. Okay, this will be a new bank. Now, what will be the objective of formation or establishment of this bank? Obviously, as the name suggests, this bank would be for financing infrastructure and the development. That means this bank would be basically help in financing certain infrastructural project which have long gestation period, obviously, right? So the objective of basically of development of this bank is basically for the development of long term non-recourse infrastructure financing in India, because infrastructure financing is very, very important. Okay, we need to tap the money from the markets, and this bank would basically help, right, in tapping the money from the market. So it will help in basically the long-term infrastructure financing in India. Okay, it also include the development of bond markets, right, the derivative markets, because the bond markets and the derivative markets are also very necessary for the long-term infrastructure financing projects, right? And this bank would also help in to carry out the business related to the infrastructure financing. The ultimate motto is to basically finance the long-term infrastructure and the developmental projects. Okay, next, the new Nagar One scheme. Okay, Nagar basically city in the Hindi word. Okay, one means basically forest. Okay, so it is the new city forest scheme, or it is a new Nagar One scheme. Okay, as the name itself suggested, that that basically the scheme is basically try to create the urban forest, right? The urban forest is specifically in the urban areas, because nowadays you have seen that basically the urban areas are very polluted, right, because of the high anthropogenic impact, because of the developmental project, because of industrialization, because of cutting down of the forest, right? So what is happening is that the Union Environmental Ministry or minister basically try to promote the urban forestry, specifically in the cities. So it will help in the creation of urban forest in the cities areas. Okay, so this project or this new Nagar One scheme basically help in the filling of the gap between the cities and the villages in terms of having their own forest cover. Okay, as you have seen that the Indian tradition, which is a age old tradition of developing and caring of the village forest. Okay, so this is the age old project or age old tradition for the development of village forest in the vicinity of basically your rural areas. You might have seen also in your village areas. Okay, there is the forest in the vicinity of the almost every rural areas. Okay, in the Nagar One scheme also, the urban forest will be developed initially in the 200 cities in the first stage, and slowly in the phase wise, right, all cities will be covered. So initially 200 cities will be taken, and in the vicinity of these urban areas, okay, the urban forest will be developed, or the forest will be developed. So from concrete jungles to the urban oasis. So concrete jungles means you have buildings, okay, you have roads, okay, you have all sort of a the concrete shaped infrastructure projects, to the urban oasis where you will have the predominantly forest. Okay, so that is the Nagar One. So to develop the urban forest specifically in the 200 urban areas in the phase one. Okay, next, the Whitsun Reef. Okay, so this Whitsun Reef is basically located in the South China Sea, but it has the basically competing the claims. The Philippine claiming that the Whitsun Reef is basically, belongs to the Philippines. Okay, the China says that it belongs to the China. Okay, so the Philippines calls the Whitsun Reef as basically the Julian Philipp Reef. Okay, so the Philippines says that it is basically, the Julian Philipp Reef, which is having the sovereignty of the Philippines over this reef. But the China basically also have the contrasting claims over this reef. As you know that the China is a communist country which is ruled by the Communist Party of China. Now the China's unilateral claim, specifically in the South China Sea, right, as well as in far portions of the Indian Ocean region also, cause so much problems related to the competing claims, right? So what happens is recently 220 Chinese boats have been spotted at the reef, which is known as the Whitsun Reef, okay, which is basically located in the South China Sea, right? The Philippines believe that these 220 boats is basically controlled by, by the Chinese military. Okay, now they have encroached into the territory which is being controlled by the Manila or Philippines. Okay, so the Philippines basically urge the China to recall or to remove all the boats which is staying, right, in the basically in the vicinity of your Whitsun Reef. Okay, as the Manila also claims that the maritime rights which was given to the Philippines regarding this Whitsun Reef is being encroached by, by the China, and it is, it's Philippines sovereign territory, right, which belongs to the Philippines. Okay, now these boats are believed to be manned by the Chinese maritime militia personals, right? And these boats basically spotted on March 7 on the Whitsun Reef, which is basically also the Julian Philipp Reef. Okay, so I'm talking about this one. So they have spotted at this place basically, which is a reef. Okay, next, the International Day of Forest. Okay, as you know that the forest ecosystem is very, is very important, and is also, helping in sustaining of the life on the earth also. Okay, so to protect the forest is also our greatest responsibility, because the human beings are also dependent on the forest. Okay, not only human beings but also all life forms, whether it is a flora, fauna, everything, right? Every species is basically dependent on the forest. So that is something is very, very important. Okay, which is to be understood, that this type of or any type of forest is basically very important for the sustainable development. Okay, so the United Nations observed March 21 as the International Day of Forest, right? So it is basically to commemorate the green cover around the world. So ultimately aim is to increase the green cover, okay, as well as to reiterate the importance of the forest in the on the earth, because it provides lot of other benefits also. Okay, so this year the theme for the International Day of the Forest is basically the forest restoration, a path to recovery and the well-being. Okay, now the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed March 21 as the International Day of Forest in 2012. Since then, it is been annually celebrated every year on March 21st as the International Day of Forest. Okay, and this day is basically celebrated by the United Nations Forum on the Forest, right, as well as the Food and Agricultural Organizations of the United Nations, that is called FAO, right? It is, celebrated with the collaboration with the governments, right? The collaboration partnership on the forest, as well as various NGOs which are working specifically, right, to increase the green cover or to basically conserve the forest areas throughout the world. Okay, so it is basically, have the, the collaborated project which is being having the collaboration or the coordination among the United Nations plus the governments plus various NGOs which are working around the world. Okay, next, the World Water Day. As you know that the water is also, a very important resource for the sustenance, Okay, without water we cannot live. Even all flora and the fauna, they cannot sustain without the water. So water is very essential resource. Okay. Regarding the value of the water, okay, the 2021 World Water Day, right, which is being celebrated on the March 22nd. Okay, it was the theme of the World Water Day. So valuing the water was the theme on the 2021 World Water Day, which was celebrated on the 22nd March. Okay, which is an annual UN observance day. That means every year the March 22nd is basically celebrated as the World Water Day, right? To highlight the importance of the fresh water in the world. Okay. Now, this day, which is being celebrated or which has been advocated for the sustainable management of the freshwater resources, because nowadays almost every country have some sort of a water scarcity. Okay, and the importance of the sustainable importance of this fresh water is very, very important, because if you see in the coastal areas, you don't have the fresh water availability, right? You have the saline water, right, which cannot be, or which is not potable enough to be drink. Okay, so the importance of the fresh water is very, very significance in that perspective. So the day is basically observed, right, for the sustainable management of this freshwater resources. Okay, the theme of each day basically focused on certain relevance related to the fresh water. For example, the clean water, sanitation, and the hygiene, which is in the line with the target of Sustainable Development Goal 6. Okay, now on that day, which is very celebrated as a World Water Day, the UN World Water Development Report is also released. Okay, which is being year around the World Water Day celebrations. Okay, the UN Water is basically a convener for the World Water Day every year. The idea for instituting of this World Water Day was put forward in 1992. At that point of the time, Rio de Janeiro United Nations Conference on the Environment and Development was basically held. So that idea was basically put forward in 1992 onward. Okay, so March 22nd is the World Water Day, which is being celebrated throughout the world. Okay, next is Ken-Betwa link project. Okay, so it is the first project for interlinking of the river. Okay, so now with the help of this Ken-Betwa, the interlinking of the river project, what will happen? The excess water, or the water which is plenty in the Ken River, will be transferred to the Betwa River. Okay, now from Ken to Betwa, the transfer project with the help of different barrages, different dams, okay, different canals which will be constructed all along the way from Ken to Betwa. Okay, that interlinkages of these two rivers, okay, is basically called as Ken-Betwa link project. Okay, so a memorandum of understanding was basically signed, okay, between the Union Minister of Jal Shakti and as well as the Chief Ministers of Madhya Pradesh and the Uttar Pradesh, okay, to implement the Ken-Betwa link project. Okay, it is the first such project of the national perspective plan for the interlinking of the river. Okay, and that will be taken place on the 22nd March 2021. As I told you that the Ken has the plenty of the water or some excess water. So this project basically involves the transfer of this water from Ken to the Betwa. Okay, and this transfer of the water from Ken to Betwa is not very simple. It involves a lot of developmental activities. For example, it will be involving the construction of the Dodan Dam, right? It will also have the canal linkages, right? It will also have the Lower Ore project, the Kota Barrage, the Bina Complex multi-purpose project. Okay, so a lot of developmental projects will be constructed or will be made all along the transferring of this water from Ken to Betwa. Okay, this project, once completed, would provide the annual irrigation to 10.62 lakh hectares of the area, or of the basically farm area. Okay, it will also provide the drinking water supply to 62 lakh people. Okay, as well as it will also help in the generation of 103 megawatt of hydropower electricity. So it will have, multi-purpose, impact on the development, basically the, providing drinking water, providing irrigational facilities, providing the electricity generation also. Okay, so the project will have the immense benefit because it will have the involvement of transferring of the excess water from the Ken to the Betwa. So it will help in the transferring of the water from the water plenty region to the water scarce region. So water starved region of the, or specifically of the Bundelkhand, right, will be benefited. Specifically, certain district of the Madhya Pradesh, for example, the Panna district, Tikamgarh, Chhatarpur, Sagar, Damoh, Datia, Vidisha, Shivpuri, right, and the Raisan districts of the Madhya Pradesh will get benefited. Okay, apart from that, in the Uttar Pradesh, the Banda, Mahoba, Jhansi, and Lalitpur district of the Uttar Pradesh will also get benefited out of this project. Okay, so you can see this is basically, the Ken River which is flowing. Okay, and this is basically your Betwa River. Okay, this is a Betwa River. So this came to Betwa. So this is the linkages. It will be, so both river will be linked through this, different developmental projects. Okay, next, the Jal Shakti Abhiyan, catch the rain. Okay, as you have seen that the rainfall is very, very important because the terrestrial movement of the water means the movement of the water on the surface. Okay, because of all sort of a concretization, the construction of the roads, the pavements, right, all are concreted. Okay, now there is very insignificant or very less amount of the water basically, penetrating inside the earth or seeping inside the earth. So seepage is very low. So what is happening is that, the terrestrial movement of the water is very high, and water is basically just simply flowing, to the bottom, right, or to the downstream. Okay, without even going inside the earth, and simply meeting with the rivers and ultimately falling into the, oceans. So what is happening is there is obviously the water shortage. So the Prime Minister Narendra Modi would launch a Jal Shakti Abhiyan, which is known as the Catch the Rain campaign. So this Catch the Rain campaign, which will be, launched by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 22nd March 2021, which will be on the auspicious day of World Water Day. Okay, so this campaign would basically help in, the catching of the rain wherever it fell and whenever it fell. So the campaign will be undertaken across the country. Okay, both in the rural areas as well as in the urban areas. The theme for this, this campaign is basically catch the rain where it falls and whenever it falls. Okay, so it will be implemented from the 22nd March 2021 to 30 November 2021. Okay, so it will be basically having the pre-monsoon as well as the post-monsoon period in the country. Okay, so it will be launched as a Andolan or as a Jan Andolan, where the people will be participated in the mass. Okay, so it will be a water conservation project which will be implemented at the grassroots level through the people's participation, because without people's participation you cannot achieve the desired result. So the people's participation is very, very important, right, for such project to get succeed. Okay, so it intended to nudge all the stakeholders, right, all stakeholders, so to create the rainwater harvesting structure, because the rainwater harvesting structure are very important, because right, where you will collect the water, that is something which is important. So once you create the rainwater harvesting structure, you can obviously divert that water, or you can basically allow, the storage of the water from which is being catch, right, after the rainfall in that particular structure, and that can be utilized in the later period of the time. So such rainwater harvesting structure should be suitable to the climatic conditions of that region, should be suitable to the subsoil strata, so that the proper storage of the rainwater can be ensured. Okay, so after the event, the Gram Sabhas will be held in all Gram Panchayats of every district. Okay, so here, the Gram Sabhas will be held, and that will discuss the issue related to the water conservation. Okay, and the Gram Sabha will also take the Jal Shapath for the water conservation also. So at the Gram Sabha level, okay, to discuss on the most important issues related to the water conservation, they will take the Jal Shapath to conserve the water at the grassroots level, at the Gram Sabha level. They will create, the water harvesting structures at the grassroots level, at the village level, so that they can catch the rainwater wherever it falls and whenever it falls, right? And that will be helpful for the future uses also, and that will help also in the recharge of the water. Okay, recharge of the water table also. So the Prime Minister Narendra Modi launches the Catch the Rain campaign. Okay, next, the National Agri-Food Biotechnology Institute, that is NABI. Okay, so it is an autonomous institution. So the Union Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Harshvardhan, inaugurated the new advanced high resolution microscopy facility, okay, at the National Agri-Food Biotechnology Institute, which is located in Mohali, Punjab. Okay, now the Harshvardhan, which is a Union Minister for the Science and Technology, also inaugurated, also unveiled the 4-star Griha certification of the Center of Innovative and Applied Bioprocessing, which is also known as CIAB. So what is Griha certification? See, Griha full form is basically the green rating for the integrated habitat assessment. Okay, now what is that Griha certification? See, Griha is nothing but it is a rating tool. First of all, it is a rating tool. Now, what is helping? It is rating tool which help the people to assess the performance of their own building, okay, against certain nationally acceptable benchmark. So this Griha certification or Griha tool is basically help in the assessing of the building performance against the nationally acceptable benchmarks. So what it will do, it will evaluate the environmental performance of the building, right? Holistically over the entire life cycle of the building. Okay, and thereby what it will help in, basically it will help in the constituting a green building, because ultimately, the environmental performance of the building is most important, whether it is the energy consuming, how much energy it is consuming, how much it is basically contributing to such thing, right? So the rating system, which is based on the accepted energy and environmental principles, okay, that will be basically, help in the striking of the balance between, the established practices as well as the emerging concepts, which will be there at the national level as well as at the international level also. So both NAVI and CIAV are autonomous institutes under the Department of Biotechnology under Ministry of Science and Technology. Okay, so National Agri-Food Biotechnology Institute is the first Agri-Food Biotechnology Institute which has been established on 18th February 2010. It is being located at Mohali, Punjab. Okay, so that's all for the today. Thank you very much. We will meet tomorrow for our next current affairs. Okay, so thank you very much.